Listen, I completely get it. It seems like every 4 years around presidential elections, we're constantly hearing that this is the most important election of our lifetime. But y'all, this time, it really is the most important election of our lifetime. And because this is really an election of life or death. No, literally. This is the same man who just said that he was going to halt stimulus talks until after he wins an election. That's like you're holding the American people hostage. So you can't have a leader like that in office. That just doesn't make any sense. And so because of the millions of people who did not vote in 2016, we are now stuck with the foolishness that we have at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So imagine if we get those people to vote and they bring people with them, then we can finally try to restore some kind of order and decency to our community. Now, government cannot fix everything. And President Obama told us that often. He said, government cannot fix every problem, but what we can do is at least lead. And so when you are not voting, you are essentially allowing other people to have your power and they get to advance their own personal agendas. And you're just a little pawn in their game or on their chessboard. And you are doing their bidding. You're doing whatever they tell you to do. You're having to pay these unfair taxes. You're having to constantly, be refused good high-paying jobs because you don't meet the qualifications because they're either hiding some form of information that we may need when it comes to small businesses. As we know, especially in Black businesses, we don't always necessarily have the same access to funding. I mean, just all types of issues. And all of that comes down to the power of the ballot box. And so what fuels me, the same thing that Senator Kamala Harris says, when I vote, I'm not only voting for me, but I think about our ancestors. I think about the big six: A. Philip Randolph, Dr. King, Whitney Young, John Lewis, James Farmer, and so many who paved the way for us just so that we could have the opportunity to vote. And so for me not to vote is basically me spitting in their faces saying what you did not count. The lives that were lost are saying you did not, it doesn't matter. And it is a complete disservice. It's a moral obligation to turn out and vote. And so while I can understand the apathy that people have grown about voting, I use this for an example. When it came to the North Carolina gubernatorial race in 2016, Governor Cooper won just shy of 10,000 votes. That's almost about 4 average votes per precinct. Every single vote counts. But when you are constantly sitting here and you're like, well, you know what, they don't care about us, and we think one side only uses us every 4 years for voting, and the other side is always spewing hateful rhetoric and narratives, and they're always putting in racist policies. So it's like, can we win? Yes, you can, but you have to vote. I love how Stacey Abrams put it. She said, if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't be constantly trying to shut you up. And being here in North Carolina, it has been embarrassing to an extent because we were the joke of the country when the exact wording was, our gerrymandered maps were done with surgical precision to insinuate racism of trying to keep people of color from voting. So that is why we have to vote. And as a teacher, when I go into my classroom every day and I see my students and if they ask me the question, Mr. D, what did you do to help make this generation or make this world rather better for me?